Hello, my name is Tahira Joy, founder of The Cut Life, and I am so excited to moderate today's panel, The Business of Beauty, Building and Growing Your Beauty Brand. Welcome, ladies. So to start, creating a brand or product line is a dream for many beauty professionals. However, the road from idea to reality is not always glamorous. Let's learn from some of the best in the industry on what it takes to create a beauty brand that is sold in major retailers and, most importantly, resonates with your customer. Our amazing lineup of panelists includes Dr. Barbara Sturm, founder of Dr. Barbara Sturm Skincare, Rachel Roff, founder and CEO of Urban Skin RX, Nyakio Grieco, founder of Nyakio Beauty and co-founder of 13 Loom, and Danessa Myricks, CEO of Danessa Myricks Beauty Makeup. Welcome, ladies. So I'm going to start with Dr. Barbara Sturm. What prompted you to start your skincare business and to specifically launch your darker skin tones line?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. It's such an honor. I started out as a medical doctor. I'm still a medical doctor, but I was seeing patients in the orthopedics. I helped pioneering a treatment where you take the blood from the patient, create body-owned proteins, and re-inject it into the joints to take down inflammation. So I have a very strong anti-inflammatory background. And when I created the vampire facial, I translated the knowledge from the orthopedics into the skin in 2002. So I started in the aesthetic field, injecting your body-owned anti-inflammatory proteins together with hyaluronic acid into wrinkles. So I created really the blood facial, whatever people call it, or a vampire facial, and I created that in 2002. And then I started also doing face creams for my patients and myself. And that is really the whole idea. As a doctor, you're at service to your patients. So whatever my patients wanted from me to develop, I did. So they asked me, Dr. Sturm, which cleanser should I use? Which serum? So I started really giving options to my patients. And then patients came, oh, I have breakouts. I need help with that. I have rosacea. I need help with that. So all of a sudden I created all these products. Meanwhile, they were really accepted in the market. And I came together with Angela Bassett, and Angela Bassett loved my product. She said, it's the first product actually which ever worked on my skin. I said, you have beautiful skin to begin with. But she said, nobody really bothered looking into the special needs of melanin rich skin. And I was like, okay, let's do some research. Let's create a line together. And so with the help of Angela Bassett and all the research I've done, I got into creating the darker skin tone line. It's basically a line which is really uniquely designed around extra anti-inflammation, being antibacterial, and for evening out the skin tone, besides being really suited for all the special properties of melanin-rich skin. So science together with the best ingredient, non-toxic, vegan, super anti-aging, really designed for the needs of darker skin tones. So this line has been developed like 6 years ago, and we love it.
Love that. Thank you so much. And Angela Bassett is the most amazing co-sign you could ever have, for sure. Yes, absolutely. Nyakio, I'm sorry. Let me skip actually to Danessa. How did you transition from a makeup artist to starting and scaling your own brand?
I would have to say, well, first, thank you so much for having me on this panel. I'm so excited to hear from everyone. I would have to say much of it was accidental, if I had to be quite honest. I'm an accidental makeup artist. I just kind of fumbled into it. And I think scaling and growing the brand kind of happened accidentally too. If I had to really pinpoint it, I think the business was able to scale as my belief scaled. I think in the beginning, I was just figuring out, like, how can I make money to eat and feed children? And that was literally as far as I can see. And I think with every stage of my growth as an artist, I was able to see a little bit further. And I don't know if that makes sense, but one of the vehicles that I was able to use early on and even till today to scale my business has been education. When I finally got a hold of, how to do makeup, other people started to ask me to teach them as well. And it started off with just this one-on-one interaction. And then it turned to rooms of 5 and 10 and 20. And so whenever you get to that next point in your business, you ask yourself new questions. So I'm like, okay, how can I present this to more people? So I just started to think a little bigger on how I can do this thing that I felt confident about and share it with more people. And I don't even know if anybody owns these anymore, but I created a series of DVDs. Back when I started in beauty, there was no Instagram. Social media was not at all what it was today. And so my way of reaching more people and scaling my education was to create these DVDs. And they were long form DVDs, like 2.5 hours long. And through that, I was able to reach more people. And those DVDs just got into the hands of bigger audiences. I started to get invited to teach at trade shows. And in the environment of a trade show, I'm like, oh, wait, I have nothing to sell. I mean, I have my DVDs, but, at the end of my program, people are like, what should I buy? And it really started to get me churning, like, I have my own ideas about beauty and about makeup, and what I'm demonstrating, I want to be able to give them the thing to do the thing. So that's when I really started, digging deeper into creating products. I think, once I got a handle of creating products on a small scale, I had to learn how to do it on a larger scale. And that wasn't something that I can teach myself. And there really wasn't anybody around me to teach me. But I was fortunate enough to be invited by other brands as a consultant. They really were asking me to consult on creating shades for women of color, understanding like how products need to perform for women of color. And in those consulting opportunities, I learned how to make product. I got a chance to be in labs. I traveled all over, and I kind of got a chance to understand like how this thing works. They were able to do it on such a large scale because they had tons of money. So I had to kind of like take that all back and like, okay, how can I do it with no money? So, the scaling, really started with me making product in my basement. And I started with the things that I knew that I can do on my own, like working with pigments. And that's where I developed my highlighters, were the first products of the brand. And we kind of grew from there. With the sales of the highlighter, I kind of moved on to the next thing. And then I kind of took the thing that I knew was like the foundation of my brand, which was education, and used that to scale globally. So, I was able to find local stores who knew of me as an artist, and, professionals knew my brand. And so stores like Alcone and Nigel's, where professionals shopped, really embraced the brand. But I used the idea of education to be able to go to other parts of the world. My first trip was to Vladivostok, Russia, and they invited me to do a masterclass. And every country that I went to, every city that I went to, I was able to open up, have somebody decide to start selling the brand. And it went from 1 country to 10 to 13. And through that awareness and just through that grassroots effort, I was able to capture the attention of like a larger retail outlet. So Morphe, I was introduced into the Morphe store a little over a year ago, right before the pandemic. And just recently we launched, just a few days ago, we launched Sephora online, and then Sephora in stores in April. So I think honestly, it was really about just, asking the next question. Once I got to the next, got to one point, it was like, okay, well, how can I serve more? How can I serve more people? How can I serve better? And it was a very slow and steady wins the race kind of a deal for me.
I love how you grew your business through real life experience. It's so relatable to many people. Thank you.
Thank
Um,
you.
so Rachel, what was one of the biggest lessons you've learned in scaling your business? Oh, Rachel, we can't hear you. I think you need to unmute.
That's the theme of 2021 and 2020.
We're in a virtual space. We all understand.
Well, I would say that I've made almost every mistake in the book, but they do have a common theme. And I think that I actually just saw this statement that Warren Buffett made, which was the most successful people get used to telling people no. They constantly say no. And I think that, I'm an esthetician. I've been an esthetician for almost 20 years. And, my heart is to please people and to want to make everybody happy. And when you're scaling a business, you need a lot of people. You need a lot of employees. If you do things right, you get retail opportunities. And I think that, just as some examples that I would say I still am going through as a CEO of a company is, with employees, people want autonomy and people don't like last minute changes. Here I am as like this CEO, founder, creative type. And, I want to always do what is best for my customer. I think that that is the most important thing as a founder and CEO, is like, that has to be the thing that leads you in all decisions that you make. But that sometimes means that, I'm up late at night. I've done some social listening. I've seen pushback on Instagram. I've read a review, and I have this employee that might have this total idea that she's worked on for months and wants to feel like she's not just a doer. She is somebody that can execute and really bring something to the table. And then I have to push back, and it's hard, but that is what I have to do. And same thing in the retail space. I'm sure people up here can relate to this. Retailers, brokers, they want to fill the shelves up. They want what's trending. And, you've spent so many years hearing the word no, with opportunities for your brand, that when you finally get yeses, the last thing you want to do is not to deliver and not make all of these people happy. And at times, I would never say there's any formula of mine that, I feel like isn't a good formula, but maybe it wasn't exactly what I felt like my customers truly was like the next best addition, but really was getting so much pressure from a retailer to fill up a shelf, or, to create a oil serum or whatever it was, so I think that you just have to get comfortable pushing back. And of course, there's right ways to push back. You can lead with a whole bunch of compliments and making people feel good. But I have struggled with saying no, even when everything in me is saying this does not feel right. And it's uncomfortable. I think being a founder and a CEO is, I'm not that hard of a person. I'm a really soft person inside, but it can really hinder you. So finding that like combination of soft and hard at the same time. Hopefully that makes sense.
That makes complete sense. I think I'm very much the same way. I'm a Libra. We can be very soft, but there are times when we have to be, stern and direct. And funny story, one time I even Googled professional ways to say no, just to have like written options of how I could respond in certain situations. And sometimes you do need that help, but it has to get done. So thank you for that.
And just the last thing I would just like to add, because I don't want to lead any budding entrepreneurs astray. I think that, when you do form professional relationships and you commit to retailers and you bring in, additional team members on, you have to be realistic. You have to do your research ahead of time. And growing too fast, we had a viral moment last year on TikTok where our brand last year grew 100%. And in a 3-month period, we actually grew 300%. And everybody kind of wants that type of growth, but I think we've all heard about brands where it can be your own demise, because rather than being strategic with every single decision, you're just like on this treadmill being reactive rather than being truly strategic. And I would tell you, like, this year, I'm having to fix a lot of mistakes that I made last year from that, super high growth. And so in that moment, my first reaction was, I can't say no. I gotta like make good of every single opportunity that's coming my way. But here I am now, a year later, having to clean up mistakes that were made. So really looking back on it, I should have just slowed down, said no, not been so reactive, because I'm still, either way, I was going to pay the price. And it was so painful on me and my team in the meantime, dealing with that type of insane growth. So if you get a crazy amount of opportunities and a crazy amount of growth, you just want to find that happy medium, but still take a moment to really sit back and breathe and always do what's best for your customer, because either way, you're going to pay the price if you don't.
That's great advice. And especially with social media, it's so easy for something to go viral, even if you didn't expect it to. And then you have to kind of go back and figure out how to move forward. So, yes, thanks again. Nyakio, she's on a beautiful road trip with the
Hi.
family.
I'm so
I love
sorry.
it.
I'm just chasing
No,
reception. Can you hear me okay?
yes, we can hear you perfectly. Thank you so much. So, Built by Black and Brown for Everyone is a great position. What made you decide to focus on this positioning with your business? Nyakio, could you hear me?
Yeah, so, I was really inspired to create 13 Loon
Hello, it's breaking up.
after being a Black
It's
founder
breaking
now
up.
for almost 2 decades with the
Oops, Nyakio. We might have to come back to you. It's breaking up, going in and out.
let's see. Hi, can you hear?
It's a little steadier now. Oops. Hello?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm so sorry. We're exiting. We're hoping we found some reception. So I, having Nyakio Beauty for almost 2 decades, as a Black beauty founder, I created Nyakio based on, beauty secrets that I learned from my family in Africa, because I felt Africa was very underrepresented in premium beauty. And that's what inspired me to share their global beauty secrets. In the summer of 2020, when we were dealing with the global pandemic of COVID-19, but then we were also dealing with this next heightened pinnacle moment of the Black Lives Matter moment, I was really motivated to try to support my other fellow Black and Brown founders at a time when we were all showing up on these lists of, top 10 Black owned brands or Black founded brands to shop. And while it was nice for us to get that increase in our business, it was built on the precipice of this heartbreak and grief. And so, in creating 13 Loon, I really wanted to turn that pain into purpose. And, all of our
Uh-oh, I lost her. She is exiting. Try to give her 1 second to come back. If not, we'll just move forward until she's able to get to a place with better service. Oh, there she is.
Guys, I'm so sorry, you guys. Anyway, where did you lose me at? I was explaining about how with, the fact that as Black
Yeah, you were
people, we've been
talking about Black Lives Matter and the aftermath of getting the uptick in sales, but, kind of getting that at a time that's, not the best time necessarily.
Right, and that it was built at such a heart, motivated to create 13
Okay.
founders. Even has to
Nyakio,
work on our textured hair, but we too. So sorry.
No, it's
Yes,
okay.
go on.
We'll just come back to you because we want you to, we want everyone to hear this because I know it's getting really, really good, and we want to make sure everyone can hear. So what I'll do is move on, and then once you get a little more stable, we'll come back to that question because I definitely want everyone to get all of the gems that you're giving us right now. So thank you so much.
Okay.
Um,
Thank
no
you. I
problem at all.
apologize.
No worries. So we have so many people tuning in that I'm sure are new to launching their own product. So I would love anyone who would love to jump in and get some advice on when you even knew your product was viable enough to go to the market. Like when did you know that you were ready to even start promoting a product? And I'll call names if no one wants to jump in first. Dr. Barbara Sturm.
I'm ha- yeah, I'm happy to do it. So yeah, I was really at service to my patients. So I really didn't. First of all, I was just a doctor in Düsseldorf, Germany. It wasn't like, I wasn't, mentally thinking, oh, I could be like in the beauty industry. This wasn't really on my radar. I was also not a beauty junkie. I was just helping my patients. And when all my patients loved it so much and asked me for more, I should have thought, okay, actually, if they love it, if I love it, so probably it's good for everybody if they're in Australia or wherever they are in this world. So I only, because I had patients coming to me from all over the world, I thought, actually, if I'm on Net-a-Porter, that's for me the easiest. I was just a two-man show in my clinic, basically working on that. And if I was on Net-a-Porter, they can do all the distribution. I have, it's easy for me. Patients can order it worldwide. So I went to Net-a-Porter in New York, and they took me. I don't know why they took my brand, but they took my brand like over 8 years ago, and I was like, wow, that is huge. So, and I thought that is it. This is perfect. That's all I want. And then actually, like next couple of weeks, I mean, every retailer was coming to me. Oh, can we carry your products? Can we carry your products? And yeah, and I really was overwhelmed. So much opportunities. You didn't say no. You make so many mistakes. Very interesting what you all were talking about. Also, Danessa, it's so inspiring. Because I am the same way. I go step by step. Something happens, and then you figure it out. Something happens, and then you go next step. So I think if you plan ahead so much, you don't even know what's going on. The times are changing, whatever. So I think really this organic growing of a brand, that is really what gives us sustainability with our product. So, the opportunity wasn't looked for by me. They really came to me, and then I took them, and then you make it right, and then you embrace it, and you work it, and you're just on it, and it's my passion. I love it. What I thought I would never end up in the beauty space. Now I love producing products. I love to develop. I love to create. It's really amazing. So I think it's not really planned ahead, which makes the success. I think it's really what the customer really wants,
Right.
and then that is, I think, what makes a product sustainably successful.
No, I love that. And organic growth is so important. And then you mentioned even strategic partnerships. That is very helpful in growing your brand. Danessa, do you have any advice for people that they may be a makeup artist like you were, and they're considering maybe putting out a lipstick or a blush or bronzer, and they're just like, when do I know I'm ready to actually put this out there in the marketplace?
Well, very similar to what the doctor just said, your audience kind of lets you know that you have something. But one of the things that I learned later on, and I would encourage everyone who's starting now to think about, is something that I went to a sales course totally unrelated to beauty. It was a Dale Carnegie sales course. This is many years ago, maybe 30 years ago. And there was a quote that never left my head. It was like, people buy people, not things. And when I think about the beginning of my journey, it was very intimate. It was very, me and someone else, or me or a small group of people getting to know each other. They knew what my passions were, my excitement was showing. And it was through that energy perpetuating that helped the brand to grow. But what happens when you scale, it's hard to have that same connection. So one of the things that's important outside of even the products that you're creating is your storytelling and being able to express the DNA of your brand, how it reflects you, and for your audience to be able to see you. It's one of the things that I continue to struggle with because I'm very much I'm super shy, and it's very hard for me to just get on, hey, it's Danessa. Let me show you, if I'm in a small group, it's great. And I'm connecting with people who I know me. But on a grander scale, it's a little bit more difficult. But I know that whenever I'm able to connect with a larger audience and really share me, who I am, the purpose behind the things that I'm creating, why I'm creating it, who I'm creating it for, that's when the growth really happens. So my advice would be to first understand who you are, why you're bringing this to the world, and really strategize on the ways that you're communicating it, because people are really buying you and your ideas and the DNA of what you're creating, not necessarily the thing. A lot of people sell lipstick, a lot of people sell eyeshadow, but why do you buy one versus the other? And outside of quality, there's always something else. There's always a message. There's always a meaning behind why you made that decision. So if you were to put yourself on the opposite end of that conversation as a customer, what is it that they need to hear to really connect to you and your brand? Because that's going to take you really, really far.
Yes, I love that. How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I think that there's just an amazing common theme between all of us, just in terms of really, we did not set out with our careers to own a large, successful product line. Like them, I never in a million years thought I would ever have a skincare line. My dream was just to have a very successful med spa and laser center that offered safe and effective treatments on all skin tones. And it was really just those individual relationships, like Danessa was talking about, where I would be in a room with a patient and wanting to help them solve their issue. And I was tired of carrying a million different product lines just to have 6 or 7 different products that was effective with hyperpigmentation. It seemed like every skincare line had like one product for hyperpigmentation for sensitive skin, one product for so it really was not to have this large retail brand. It was like to really have something that could help my patients, get better results with the treatments that I was offering to them. And it was funny, we started having some celebrity clients, and they would post the products that they were purchasing from us, and people just kept calling, like, where can I buy these? So we threw up a website. And honestly, for probably 5 years, it was receptionists in between answering phone calls, putting their orders together. And I would say we would have busy days. I'd be like, oh, don't worry about the orders. Just worry about the patients. They'll be fine if it takes them a couple extra days to get to them. And so again, the whole point is, I think, I always talk about franchises. If you're somebody who really just wants to be a entrepreneur, you want to be your own boss, I think that franchises really serve a great opportunity with that. But to actually found a brand, you have to have such a deep passion for what you're doing. It can't just be like, I want this beautiful packaging and to see, my name in a magazine. That will not cut it for you. And I think that that's the common thread between all of us, is that this, huge successful brand came out of this totally different passion that we had in this different initiative.
No, I think that's what is amazing. And I've noticed that. I'm glad you said that as the common thread between all of you, because as you tell your stories, you guys all have this amazing background of experience that you were able to put into your brand. And it seemed like just an organic extension of what you were doing. And it was just meant to be. So I love hearing the stories. And I think it was Dr. Barbara Sturm that mentioned earlier about not being able to predict what's happening in the future. Obviously, we're in unprecedented times right now. So could you all talk a little bit about how you may have had to pivot during the pandemic? Or if you even have any advice for those that are like, how do I continue to survive and or thrive during the pandemic?
Should I start again?
Sure.
So, before the pandemic, I was really literally on the plane every 2, 3 days, going to everywhere to, do master classes and, helping to promote the brand, et cetera, et cetera. So I was so busy. And then all of a sudden we're locked down. We're somewhere in a calm place. And I felt like, I'm a medical doctor. I wanted to do something which can help my my people or the community, and I couldn't be like a worker on the front line, but I was thinking, how can I help the community? So I started doing master classes online pretty much right then, because I was planning that anyway. But my retailers were like, I tried to do this with Net-a-Porter early before the pandemic, and they said, it's maybe not the time. Now everybody was home, so we did master classes, we did FaceTime consultations, we did lives, we did skin school. I created skin school, we did panel talks, we did all this kind of stuff over social, over digital, because we can do it. We can connect with so many more people all of a sudden. And this brings me back to what you all just said, what can we do for our patient, for our customer, for our client, for everyone who's looking for education right now. And especially in the beauty world, people don't want to hear empty marketing slogans. They want to know, what ingredients are we talking about? What is the efficacy? What are the clinical trials? How does it work? How do we use it? By flying around the world, I cannot explain it. I have no time. Now I feel coming back to being the doctor who can actually communicate with their patients. And I'm communicating with so many people right now on so many levels. It's so nice, and it's really, really my roots of what I wanted to be, a service to my patients. And so we're doing all this education. Meanwhile, the retail all shut down, and through this education, our e-commerce business grew like crazy. Yeah, knock on wood. But it's just also organically grown. It's not like, oh, what do we do now? If you always keep what your patient needs right now in mind, at heart, you will be fine. Your business will be fine. And that's what Danessa said, what Rachel said. It's so nice to hear all your stories, because you all come from the same background. It's so nice.
Yes, and I like the education aspect, and that's so important because consumers are a lot more educated about products that they're using than ever before. I mean, we have access, virtually, especially via the internet, to get, our hands on a lot of information, and people aren't just concerned about the end result, but how it's impacting, their health potentially. So I think that's a great point to bring up. Nyakio, welcome back.
I'm back. Oh my gosh, that was a nightmare, but I'm so glad I made it back in.
No worries.
And now we're parked. We're not moving. But anyway, so I really apologize. I could hear you all though, and I'm so inspired by everything that you all are sharing.
No problem at all. So I would love to just go back to the first question, because I want to make sure everyone gets all of the knowledge that you have.
Absolutely.
So built by Black and Brown for everyone is a great position. What made you what made you decide to focus on this positioning?
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and repeat myself from before. So I'm a Black beauty founder, have been since I launched Nyakio in early 2002. Nyakio is a skincare brand that just recently launched at Target that's based on my family beauty secrets from Kenya. And so, I've kind of always known that, and being able to share my family beauty secrets and the beauty secrets that I've learned in my journey, that, we create products for all. And so in the summer of 2020, when we were dealing with not only COVID-19, but all of the heartbreak after the death of George Floyd, myself, as well as so many other Black and Brown founders, were showing up on all of these lists to support. And while it was great to see our sales increase, it was also, as I said before, really built on the precipice of this heartbreaking time. And we were grieving and mourning, and it was conflicting. And so I co-created 13 Lune to really take that pain and turn it into purpose. And there were 3 different kind of pillars for that, and why I really leaned into Black and Brown. 13 Loon, you know, as we were seeing all of these great initiatives coming up, like Pull Up for Change and 15% Pledge, one thing that really occurred to me is that, you know, as I was going through these lists and trying to shop, and it would take hours because there would be a few of us at this retailer and a few of us at this retailer, and most of us only direct to consumer, and it would take hours just to go through one list. It really dawned on me that I couldn't believe how many incredible Black owned beauty brands I had never heard of. After being a founder for 18 years, I thought that's ridiculous because look at all of this talent. Two, it shouldn't take this long to shop a list of all of these incredible brands. And three, as I was saying before, we as Black and Brown people have been buying products made by people who are not Black and Brown our whole lives with the expectation that they work on our skin, work on our hair. And while we develop our products for our melanin rich skin and tones and our textured hair, we too deserve to sell to all and create products for all. And so my partner Patrick and I live and breathe and preach inclusivity, and we decided we were going to start a platform where 85% of our customer assortment would be created by BIPOC founders, starting with Black owned and then Brown owned, and now we've expanded across the globe, as I like to say. We launched December 2nd with 13 Black owned brands, and now we're up to 30 brands, and by the end of the year we'll have 120. And the other 15% of our assortment will be brands that we call ally brands, and these ally brands are brands but created by people who are not necessarily Black or Brown, but people who have long, as I say, before the Black box, been really working to move the needle for change, have been formulating for our skin, have been within the ecosystems of their business, making sure that they're speaking to diversity. And then since the Black box, have pushed that into overdrive and really want to be allies. So they'll be invited to our platform, but forever and always, it will be 85% products created by Black and Brown and BIPOC founders who create products for people of all colors. So we're just sort of flipping the switch on and the narrative on what retail and what really the beauty of inclusion and what a retailer can look like when you tap into some pretty amazing talent like we have.
Yes, I'm so glad we got you back for that. We needed that.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I was like, my heart's beating so fast. I was yelling at everybody in this car.
No, we've all been there before, I'm sure. We've had tons of virtual classes and virtual speaking engagements. So yeah, we've all been there before. I did want to circle back though and hear from Danessa and Rachel about how they may have had to pivot during the pandemic, or you know, how business has gone for them during this time.
I'm still shaking a little bit. I love everything I just heard, so I'm so excited to talk to you, Nyakio. But for me, I would say, you know, one of the things in the theme of the conversation has been that we've all started our brands to solve a problem, and I think 2020 was just a new set of problems, right? And so I don't think that any, you know, and I'll speak for myself, but I feel based on the conversation, I don't think that any of us are doing anything different. We're searching for ways to solve problems. And, you know, one of the problems of 2020 was that we weren't able to move. And myself, like the doctor, in 2019, I traveled 302 days. So when you're in motion, you're just reactive, very similar to what Rachel was saying earlier. And what I found is in the beginning, I was so disrupted. Like I literally didn't even know who I was as a person because I wasn't getting on and off a plane. It was like disrupted from my soul. Like, how am I serving the world? But in that peaceful state, in silence, I was really able to reevaluate, you know, what am I really doing? What am I really looking to create? You know, how am I serving and how can I serve on a deeper level? And I kind of went back to my roots of like that personal interaction. And like the doctor was saying, like, you know, we are blessed to have so many vehicles digitally to serve our audience, whether it be through Instagram or Facebook or in platforms like this. And I spent so much of 2020 just doing what we're doing right now, connecting with people that I never had the opportunity to connect to. Like this panel, like everyone's going to hear from me afterwards, just so you know. But I was able to build like deeper, richer relationships. And I was able to thoughtfully think about my business in a much better way. And I think although a lot of attention came to the brand as a result of all that was happening with the Black Lives Matter and all of the things, I think the fact that I was able to sit still really contributed into, you know, the business moving forward, because I was just able to do better. I was able to do things more thoughtfully. And I think moving forward, in this year, I'm very excited about this year and moving into the next year, because now I can take all of the things. I have so many lessons. I have, you know, the pivoting that needed to happen in all of the chaos. I had the I didn't know what I didn't know history of the growth of my brand. And now I can take all of those things and thoughtfully put together, you know, what do I really want my brand to look like? What do I want my business to look like? What do I want my life to look like? You know, I don't want to travel 300 days out of the year. I want to be of service to me too, to my family as well, and still be able to be thoughtful in building the business. So I think, you know, all that happened just created new ways, deeper thinking, and better ways to solve problems. So the future feels, I feel more in control of the next steps, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Thank you. How about you, Rachel? How has time been during this unprecedented time we're living in right now?
I mean, like Barbara, definitely our company, through social listening and slowing down, you know, wanted to connect with our consumers, like now changing environments and lives on a different level. It's very important to be able to pivot. But I think the biggest thing with our brand is we are not a Black owned company. Well, at least not from a majority percentage standpoint. And so we've always just been so prideful about being a strong ally. But it was a huge time to really reflect on is, you know, having formulas that are inclusive and hiring, you know, with diversity as a priority, does that really make you the best ally that you need to be? And so I think we did a lot of searching for just what does allyship mean? Because a lot of people were looking at our brand. There was definitely a lot of eyes on us. And so I think it was really important for myself and my leadership team to step up to the plate and take our allyship to the next level, because also with that type of responsibility, you know, the better we do as allies, the better other people will do and say, okay, they look to us as like, okay, what is this brand doing? And just also realizing that consumers need as much transparency as what really is going on in the backgrounds of your company. It's kind of like, I think for the last 4 years, when it comes to politics, not to talk about politics, people felt so defeated. It was like everybody we knew and, you know, personally didn't align. So like, how was this happening? And you felt almost like, okay, what I do voting wise doesn't matter. And so I think people started looking at the way they spend their money is the way that they can impact the world. It's like their dollar is how they vote. And so you need to be transparent with your customers on every single level as, you know, what organizations are you supporting? What are really the conversations you are having, you know, with your customers, with your vendors, with your leadership team? And so it was a time where we had to realize that, you know, inclusivity, allyship goes so much further than, you know, the faces in your company as well as the formulas that you're making. And that's a lot of work, but I'm really proud of the strides that my brand has made.
I love that. And I love the diversity of this panel as well, and the support that's here. And hopefully that can continue to reflect throughout the world. Nyakio, did you want to speak a little bit about how the pandemic has affected your business? I know you talked a bit about it, but if you had any further thoughts.
Yeah, I think that, this time, it's been a really great time. I think as founders, we're so committed to our business. We're, in this constant space of balance, work-life balance, family balance, etc. And really what this pandemic has done is made us all just stop in our tracks and really reflect. And for me personally, it's made me reflect on, the bigger picture, the reason that I chose this path, the reason that, at 27 years old, I left my career to make my grandmother's coffee scrub. And what does that mean? And more importantly, what is it that I'm doing
doing work collective? How am I helping to change the needle? Because, you know, I think that we in the beauty industry have not only the opportunity, but the responsibility to really change the narrative on what inclusion looks like. But we're really lucky because beauty is universal. And so when I really, you know, kind of looked at like, how can we in beauty change this paradigm and help to create generational wealth in our communities, help to build people up, help that next generation of founders that look like us or don't look like us know what to do so that our kids and our kids' kids and beyond aren't seeing people die in the streets like we have. So, so for me, I think it was a great thing that the pandemic forced us to all stop and redirect or pivot or just expand even further on what we stepped into as our purpose. So, you know, for all the sadness around the pandemic and the lives lost, I am grateful for the time to slow down because it helped me really just direct where I know I'm supposed to go with my career.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to wrap it up shortly, but before we do, I have one rapid fire question. So we can just go in order from Dr. Sturm to Danessa to Rachel and then Nyakio, and tell everyone, if you had to tell everyone one product from your line that they should buy if they have never bought anything from your line before, what would that be? And you don't have to say why, just one product that you would recommend. I know it's hard because you guys have so many amazing products.
I'm always a big fan of face creams. And if you just have one product and you don't want to have a big beauty routine, this face cream is everything hydrating. I shouldn't explain it, I know, but it's just the best. I formulated it in, you know, the course of over 2 years, especially the one for darker skin tones. Amazing. I personally use that.
Okay, real quick, we don't have a lot of time. Rachel, one product. Let's go.
The Super C Brightening Serum. It was inspired by SkinCeuticals' CNE ferulic serum years ago. I used to carry it and absolutely love it. It's a blend of 20% ascorbic acid, ferulic acid, hyaluronic acid, peptides. It's just everything you need except retinol and sunblock and a great moisturizer.
Okay, Danessa and Nyakio, product name only.
Color Fix.
Nyakio Maracuja and Yongu face oil.
Awesome. I love it. Again, ladies, thank you so much for being here today. Everyone that's listening, make sure you follow Black Beauty Roster on Instagram and tune in to the rest of the panel. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. This was so enlightening. I learned so much from all of you. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.